All right, so we're here with Frank Garcia. Welcome to What About the Music podcast by So Stereo. We're here to talk music, advertising, and a lot of cool things.
Thank you
Frank,
for having me.
welcome.
It's my first time on a podcast. So
Oh, that's good. First time for
there's a
everything.
logo, I'm excited.
Yeah. A lot of good stuff going on. Happy to talk with you. Like it's obviously you've had a great career in the world
Thank you.
of advertising. How did it all start for you?
I guess it all started with music, because I grew up watching. I'm 42, so I grew up back in the 80s, 90s, and I grew up watching a lot of MTV back in the day, back in the time when MTV actually played music. So, and the commercials were weird. They were like super weird. I remember this commercial. There was a flying toast suddenly just like removing butter from its body, throwing it to people. I was just like, is that a career? Like someone gets paid to do that? And I've always liked like weird sense of humor. So I'm like, that's what I want to do. So I guess,
Yeah.
it was because of MTV.
Yeah, MTV influenced a lot of people.
Totally. I mean, that was when I was 8 years old, so that's not when my career started. But later, interestingly, I went to school for creative writing. I actually tried going to school for advertising, but my grades were not there. So I went to school for creative writing because, which is actually English major. But I had to convince my parents that it was still advertising. So the title had the word creative in it. So I was like, look, mom, look, dad, like I'm still a creative. So I graduated as a writer and I went back home in my country, Panama, and I tried getting a job in advertising and most people were like, creative writing? Like, go write a book, you fucking hippie. I was like, I'm not a hippie. And I ended up becoming a banker.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know how in the world I went from creative writing to bank. And like after 7 years, I ended up becoming a VP at the bank, whatever, you get comfy, you get comfortable. And at some point I was like, no, I want to go back to that moment when I said, like marketing, advertising, potato. And I quit and started from scratch, moved to the US.
Wow. And, did you, while you were in the banking sector, were there a lot of moments, those 7 years that you said, like, I know you waited 7 years, but during those moments you said, this is not me, I want to get out?
All the time, dude. Every time that I was putting a tie, it's funny. It's not like I'm anti-suits or anything like that. I actually love suits, but like one thing is, it's very different to put on a suit because you're being invited to a wedding and you're like, oh, I want to look sharp. Then every day you have to put one. You're just like, this is just weird. And also, so at some point I was the client at the bank, right? And I one of my positions, I was VP of marketing, and I used to go to meetings with that agencies. And I think those agencies actually hated me because they presented ideas to me. And by then I was like, are you guys done? They were like, yeah. And I was like, okay, cool, because here are my ideas. So I brought my own ideas to the meeting. I'm glad none of them actually murdered me ever.
Yeah, so I guess you always had that urge to provide.
3,000%. Yeah. I've always loved, like ideas, whether I knew what to do with them. And dude, my ideas at the beginning, I'm not saying that they're good now, but at the beginning they were really bad.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I still had a lot of them.
And writing was sort of like your core talent more than art direction, right?
This is another funny story. In the same way, I guess I should apologize to my parents for lying so many times. But, the first time that I told them advertising, creative writing was the same thing. It wasn't. So when I joined Miami Ad School, they had the copywriting track and they had the art direction track, but I actually chose the art direction track because it had the word director on it. So, like
it sounded more legit.
It sounded important. And my mom was like, well, my son is an art director. What the hell does that mean? I guess she thought that I directed art to some museum.
I guess art director sounds better than copywriter.
Yeah. And also it sounds better. Yeah. But copywriter sounds better when you're colorblind. I'm actually colorblind. Oh. So, I was a colorblind art director. And then a copywriter who doesn't speak English as a first language. So, I was like, I don't know which one is better.
And what was if you can recall, what was your like welcome to advertising moment, like your first moment, said, wow?
You mean like in actual, I have a lot of stories. For example, I always liked weird stuff, like especially, since back when I was 8 years old watching MTV. So I wanted to make my book, that it represented the type of work that I wanted to do. And it took me a while to actually find that first job. It's funny how in this industry you somehow need someone who believes in you. Because at the beginning you're just saying things and people are like, that guy is crazy. You're just saying things, people are just like, that makes no sense. But then one person believes in you and they're like, that guy is cool.
I mean,
and
with
then people just
everything,
listen
right?
to you.
I think there's always a reason not to do something,
Yeah.
but there's always a reason to do something.
You know, I kind of wanna like today, like bring back those ideas that I was presenting when I was a junior, and people were like, "That's just a bad idea, just because I was a junior." And I bet, like, if I say these ideas now, people are gonna be like, "Oh my god, that's amazing!" And it's like,
Yeah.
"Shut up, same stupid idea,
Yeah.
same idiot also saying it."
I mean, ideas, there's a lot of good ideas, and if they don't get enough support, a lot of times they die.
Yeah, and I love what you were saying. You know, like it's there's a lot of reasons to kill an idea, right? Like it's simpler the safest thing is just to say no.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I've seen that many times. And so, like, if you can find a champion, someone that can support your idea, it'll have more weight.
Yeah, and I guess for me, you know, like in that sense, going to Droga 5 as my first, you know, like experience in advertising, especially back in those days, you know, like
When was this?
it
Like
did a
what?
difference. This is like 2013, 2014. It was like the moment, you know, that Droga 5 was, you know, still an amazing agency. But in that moment, it was like the golden era of like Droga 5. And it was insane. I remember like just walking in there, presenting the most horrendous ideas in the world. And I didn't even know what I was saying. But then you had very amazing, brilliant people turn your idea into something beautiful and never making you feel like it wasn't your idea. So that's something that I always remember, you know, now that, you know, like being a leader in advertising is like, dude, like don't think you are the shit just because you turned someone else's idea into something that is your job. You're getting paid to do that, you know. Don't expect juniors to already come, you know, with a lion to you, you know, like
Yeah.
you're getting paid to do something. So
Yeah.
just you know, like be a part of it.
Yeah. I mean, talk about music and advertising. One of the similarities, I mean, a lot of times you have to have courage to have bad ideas, and you need the bad ideas in order to spark good ideas. I mean, a lot of times, I mean, back when I used to write songs or I used to produce music, so many, like, you know, beats that I would create or songs that I create or artists that I talk to a lot, they have their own music, but, you know, a lot of times you have to write a song and not like it to inspire the next one, which is the one you're going to like. And the same happens with a lot of ideas that you might have for a campaign. A lot of times, like, you're in it, you're creating, and then all of a sudden, you know, that's not the right one, but have the courage, even though it's not the right one, to finish it so that you can, you know, keep going and keep, you know.
I love that, you know, like the way I like solving briefs, I always leave room for, you know, like genuinely, what's the worst idea that we could do to solve this brief? For example, one time, Philadelphia cream cheese came to us at GUT and they asked us they were like, how do we sell more bagels? Because, you know, like coming from Latin America, dude, like, you know, in my country, we put cream cheese to anything. But for some reason, Americans love putting cream cheese on bagels. So we were like, so it needs to have
a hole in the middle.
It needs to have a hole in the middle. So the idea was a simple, how do you sell more bagels? By turning everything into a bagel. And we created a machine called Bagel that just punch holes on all sorts of bread. And we're like, well, now I guess you can put cream cheese on these toasts.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I saw that. That was...
And it's a super dumb idea, you know? And I love dumb ideas. I love almost like asking myself, you know, like almost like that meme, you know, like only wrong answers.
Yeah, I mean, it's simple things, common sense, things people can relate to, right? And I think that was brilliant. I'm curious, like, your approach to music, just changing the topic a little bit, your approach to music throughout the years, how has it changed? I guess music and advertising from the first job in advertising that you had to now, how has your approach changed?
The approach has changed a little bit, but the essence is still the same. Since I play music, I kind of...
What do you play? What instrument?
I started playing drums when I was 8 years old.
Oh, same here. I'm a drummer too.
You're a drummer too?
Yeah.
When I was 13, my dad bought me a guitar. He was like, you're never going to be able to write a song if you don't play anything that has something with chords, right?
Yeah.
Then I played the piano. Then things got weird. Like, I think I'm the only Hispanic guy who plays the banjo. And I started playing the banjo before Mumford & Sons was cool.
Yeah.
So that was just like really weird. But for example, when I talked to music production companies, like I remember again at Droga we're making like an inspiring film, and instead of just giving these keywords that I feel like mean nothing, I'm not being helpful, like I'm being more helpful if I'm like, do you have anything that's like A minor, F, C, G on a piano,
Yeah.
and very slow, and then he has, like the feedback needs to make sense. So,
Yeah.
So I still do things like that in order to I give the keywords and things like that. But the one thing that changed is like before, I guess I just wanted to put the type of music that I liked on stuff,
Yeah.
and then I grew and I realized I'm not the target audience for this ad, so I should
Yeah.
actually think about the audience and not about me.
Yeah. Because we see all those briefs all the time.
Yeah.
And it's
Energetic,
energetic.
whimsical. You're like, the hell does that even mean? Whimsical.
Yeah.
I still
Yeah.
don't know what that word means.
Yeah. It can mean a lot of things, apparently.
I know, but for me,
a lot of different people.
I imagine like a dwarf jumping in the boom, 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 boom. I don't know, like whimsical.
Yeah. A lot of times, I mean, the best thing to do is provide music that you like, and then
Yeah.
provide music that you actually don't like.
That's good.
Because
Just
a lot
telling
of-
you
yeah.
like this we don't. You just like guardrails, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of guardrails. That's awesome.
Yeah. Because I mean, like we want to make sure that whatever we're sending fits the brief. And so a lot of times things are vague, and you can do your best job to do that, but it's always good to know we definitely don't want anything that has this type of sound. Anything that has like synths and like electronic sounds. We want to focus on this instrumentation, not that instrumentation. The more specific you can be. And I think the more people at advertising agencies understand about music, not necessarily like music theory or anything like that, but just like simple things like instrumentation, sound, it's better because they can really communicate well what the campaign is gonna have.
But you know what I think is actually the smartest thing, and I don't think we do this enough in the industry. We, like as creatives and creative directors, we think that we know everything, and sometimes we should actually let the experts do the job. So I think my best way to approach it, what if I just show you the film and you tell me what kind of music I should put?
True.
Because that's your job. This is like going to a doctor and me telling the doctor, you know, like, give me something that has this and this and that.
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of times we get the brief, we get the, the script, right? We sort of like get it, and we get a deck, depending on how far along the campaign is. And we get sort of like a music brief with genres, moods that the client is interested in. We get a couple of references, usually YouTube links or Spotify links of songs that the creative team is digging, which is great. And that'll help us with the starter.
But
and
also
then,
give you room so you can be like, guys, wildcard, what about these?
Correct.
Yeah.
But normally, so what we'll do is we'll package a playlist of songs and we'll send it out. And then it's up to the agency to sort of select. But there's nothing more powerful than seeing the cut, the actual spot, and then you actually putting the track to picture. Because sometimes you think you have the perfect track, it meets all the criteria, it fits the brief, the genres, the instrumentation, the moods, it makes you feel what you want to feel, and then you put the track to the spot, and for some reason it doesn't click.
Yeah, and sometimes it's also what I like doing also is like, okay, this is the song that makes the most sense. What if we go with a wild card and do something completely
like what would be the opposite of this?
What would be the opposite for this? And you mix, like those emotions. And for example, like we were doing this film Droga, that it was for a coach. It was we were super inspired by. We actually tried getting Quentin Tarantino for this. Of course, the client budget did not, But the idea was like for the holidays, this woman would actually go and walk into Santa Claus' house and beat the fuck out of Santa Claus because she didn't get a coach back. So it was a very violent film, and we ended up, of course, clients were like, cut that down, make it a 30. At the beginning, it was gonna be like a 4-minute film that it was just like pure, a lot of violence, and
cut that down, make it a 30.
Exactly, and there were a lot of moments that were like very dark. But for example, it was like the woman almost like torturing Santa, but the music was very like beautiful, epic, kind of like those like psychopath movies where they play, like these epic classical music in the background. And we tried going there, but the client was like, The hell is wrong with you guys?
They killed it immediately.
They killed it while we were trying to kill Santa.
That happens.
I mean, the commercial came out, but you know, it was a 30.
Yeah. I mean, how many times do you see that you actually end up not doing what you really wanted because you ended up compromising and doing sort of like the tradition, taking the easy way out, the traditional route.
Yep.
Even going with a stock track or
Oh yeah.
you know, or
Stock track that it sounds like, dude, it was like literally played with a keyboard, you know, like even the drums were like, psst, the cymbals sounds like super fake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happens. I'm sure that happens a bunch,
Yeah.
especially when you don't have a lot of time. You have to put something together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That tends, it does happen a lot. And you know, like at some points I was like, instead of using, you know, like stock, like I'm down with even recording a guitar myself, you know, like, but let's please, like, I mean, there is some stock that works, but you know, especially when you try to getting into things that have like actual organic instrumentation. For example, let's say you want a song that sounds like death metal, and it's stock. The drums sound fake, you know, like in a lot of the cases.
People are smart, man. People know these days what sounds stocky versus not stocky.
Also, that you've heard the same song, you've heard the same song on like 35,000 things. So you're like, another one with the same song.
Yeah, exactly. No, and also you get like, there's no better feeling than actual working with real people on something, not just a collection of tracks that have been recorded for the last 20 years, 15 years, and it's just a recycling bin of music. And you actually want to create something that feels real.
That feels real. I mean, it would be amazing to create something that feels bespoke to, you know, what you're trying to do, and that brings it to life. And yeah, totally.
Yeah, because that's something that we're doing right now. Is like a lot of times you know, we have a bunch of artists that we work with, but you can actually work with those artists to create something bespoke, to create something that feels new. You know, so you get the best of both worlds. You get a cool, real artist, but that artist can get back in the studio with the brand and
with a brief.
Brief.
Because they are creators themselves.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe what I like is, you know, like more than telling people what to do, it's like I love giving people the problem. This is the problem we're trying to solve. How would you solve it?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good point. I mean, I think there's a big, the more communication, the more transparency you can give to the vendors, the best it could be. And, you know, like, I mean, it's, you know, there's a lot of aspects that go towards an advertising campaign, and there's a lot of moving parts, and you have directors, you have, you know, you're working with different types of talent, you have VO, you have music, you have sound. And I feel that part of the reason why we're having these conversations is because music is fucking important, you know.
It is important,
and a lot of times people act as if it's like the last thing.
But you know,
whenever it's not the main thing, a lot of times like music is very important, like Super Bowl spots, and you want to get like a recognized artist. But whenever that's not the case, and a lot of times brands do get super involved, but a lot of times we see that it's just something that they do at the end.
Yeah, and you know, like something you just said a word. You know, the word vendors, you know, like I love actually, like it's more like partners, right? Because, okay, think about it. If we were talking about the movie industry, musicians are not just vendors. You know, like the music, you know, like it does still win Oscars, right? You know, like, so it's important to think that maybe you will win a Lion, or not maybe. In a lot of film cases, you know, like when we're talking about a craft, you know, like, music is such an important part of it. For example, you know, if I think of a campaign like Under Armour's, you know, like It's What You Do in the Dark That Puts You in the Light, you know, like It's the Last Goodbye, that song that they played, you know, like that ad wouldn't be the same without that song.
Oh yeah.
Or for example, like we did this piece for WhatsApp that it was for dark mode. When WhatsApp was launching dark mode, and Ricky Casal, Ricardo Casal, you know, like CCO, we were in Argentina, and Ricky, we were just talking, and he was like, dude, like I have this idea. It's just people like opening their eyes in the middle of you know, like the night, you know, like looking at the light just hitting in their faces, and we're gonna shoot this, and we're just talking like we need a song, and we're just like, hello darkness, my old friend. And to be honest, dude, like the song, and I have no idea how much they paid to. Well, they paid a lot of money to Paul Simon, and and even that became conceptual because like Paul's we released it with with a rare version, you know, with no with a version of Sound of Silence that have never seen the light before. So everything we did it conceptual, you know, like on that. But it's beautiful when you have the budget to actually also give a thought to it.
Hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's all about. I mean, when people see a spot, people see a commercial, they see a video, they see talent, they see VO, but a lot of times it's 50-50. It's video and it's music. And
Yeah.
so a lot of times, if you look at production budgets, it's like 80-20 sometimes, and music and sound gets towards the bottom. And one of the things that we're really focused on is making music more important in advertising, because we believe that it can provide engagement, it can provide a lot of good things for the brand, for the agencies, for all the partners.
Dude, you know what would be an amazing idea, you know, like uh for example for you guys to do to actually show commercials without music. Just show the commercials, you know,
Yeah.
what they and you're gonna see that no one is gonna feel shit. Even show a famous scene from a from a famous music,
Yeah.
from a famous movie, I'm sorry, without music.
It just proves how much music adds to it.
Or even put
Yeah.
the wrong music, you know, like in a love scene, you know, like imagine just putting Elvis Crespo con, you know, like suavemente, you're gonna destroy the scene.
Yeah.
No offense to
Destroys
Elvis
it,
Crespo,
yeah.
but I mean, it's just not
Yeah,
the
that
right
reminds
music
me
for
of
the right scene.
whenever there's the movie Titanic,
Yeah.
you know, that scene at the end, and then all of a sudden you scratch off the music and you put, you know, a death metal song.
Bro, imagine
Or-
that same scene would be like, boom, pop the jam, pop it up. You
right?
know, like you would destroy
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
the
but
scene,
doing
so-
that exercise with advertising would be good. And that's something that we're talking about. It's about ad effectiveness. If you want your ad to be effective, but also be effective transmitting authenticity and emotion. And I mean, what better way to do that than by working with artists and at the end of the day, partners. Like I just like what you said there. Like
It's partners, dude. Yeah,
Partners.
It's partners. It's your project too. It's not my project that I'm hiring you to do me a favor and pay you.
Yeah.
You know, it's your project too. You know, like it's you want this stuff to actually, you know, if this wins an award, it's your award. You know, and I think something that music provides. You know, like we put a lot of words into it, so we're providing you all the information on why you should buy this product, while the song might be the emotional component
Yeah.
that actually makes you actually do the purchase.
So I'm curious. You're a drummer. You play the drums. You still play the
guitars,
drums?
yeah. I still play the drums.
You play.
I don't have drums at home. I have, I have drumsticks, and sometimes, especially when I lived in New York, I used to go to a studio and just, like practice drums. But here I practice more like,
No.
paradiddle.
Yeah,
elements.
but I guess my question is, at all the agencies that you've worked with, have you been, because there's people that are not musicians that work at
Yeah.
agencies. Have you been sort of like, quote unquote, the GCD or the creative director that knows music, that
I
is a
was the
musician?
annoying guy, dude. Because let's say there was a scene in which, like the character is singing a song and they were putting another song in the background. And I'm like, dude, what the hell? She's singing on B sharp and, and the song that you're using in the background is it's a completely different, note. And that's, it doesn't match.
Yeah.
Or even when it comes to editing, I'm like,
Yeah.
especially as a drummer, and I'm like, sorry to be an ass here, but can you just
Yeah.
mark it a little bit, so yeah.
Yeah.
I'm annoying, I guess.
Yeah.
In that sense.
No, and that's why agencies and a lot of times they work with music producers in house. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of great people that really steer the ship, right? And guidelines when it comes to music, and be able to know who to go to for what. So at the different, because some places where you have worked with, I'm sure sometimes there's a music person
Yep.
helping, sometimes there isn't.
Yep.
But have you seen that there's always even though their official title is not a music producer, there's always like someone that's
Someone who knows a little bit of music,
a
and
little.
that person gets, thrown on every conversation when there's music. They're like, I remember I got one time, like I told Anselmo, I was like, dude, besides, being a creative here, like I also want to be the head of music. But we were just having drinks at a party, and I guess I never followed up on it. But because I do think that there should be someone who can translate that music conversation so you don't ever get the word whimsical.
The word whimsical. That should be the title.
Yeah.
And don't get the word whimsical.
Don't get the word whimsical on a brief.
Yeah, the little dwarf. The little dwarf.
Like, does that even mean? Like,
Yeah. So that's funny. Yeah, I mean, that's like for me, like I know that a lot of times we go on these rants and music should be more important in advertising and 100%. But there's a lot of like you have seen the trend and the trend is improving. There's a lot of, I mean, for the longest time, Apple has been the one that has, been dominating the music for campaigns, for branded content, for sure. But more and more, you start seeing brands that are doing a heck of a job with that. It's impressive, like seeing all the campaigns that are coming out. Like more brands are bold enough to do things differently. But there's still, I mean, I just think that this conversation will never get old. In that there's way more brands out there that can use it more effectively.
yeah, no, and also I remember one time we were doing this video, and we had a reference that the reference was a Mark Ronson song. So when you start there, it's actually like quite difficult to when you actually like have to face the truth and the songs you can actually use. And we just started talking, to the music production company and be like, well, we can't change the song, but like we can make it sound dirty. We can, like play with it so it wouldn't sound like, because maybe even if it's a stocky track, if you just add a couple of sound effects, maybe you can make it sound a little bit better. And just more interesting.
Yeah, and it's also like we recently worked on a campaign. There's a great agency out in the West Coast. The name is Rec League. That's the name of the agency, and they work a lot with New Balance. We worked with them. Awesome partners, awesome people to work with. They worked Francisco Lindor, MLB player, fantastic player, and they were showing his story, and he has a partnership with New Balance. But they were bold enough to select this artist called El Individuo. And it's just like perfect for the spot. Even though it's general market, right?
Yeah.
And basically like that whole thing about general market, Hispanic market. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all humans, everyone. And so like music, so powerful that it just, it shouldn't have boundaries.
I agree with you, like in the sense also, well, I'm Hispanic, I'm from Panama. Spanish is my, my native language.
We have a great artist from Panama called Cienfue. He's pretty cool.
Yeah. Camilo, claro. I know Camilo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Camilo.
Very talented.
Camilo's super cool. So the interesting thing with music, for example, if it were because of, general market, multicultural market, I guess I should be listening to, salsa, right? That's what, or reggaeton, or but I play the banjo. So what I'm saying is, it's like sometimes, we need to hear these things, like multicultural, but understand that, dude, like general market is multicultural.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as, it's just multicultural market, the general market is multicultural and it behaves, for example, it's not like I watch different, like Netflix shows.
Yeah.
So the insights, I think they should be a little bit more deep than just being like, oh, Hispanic market, put Bad Bunny.
It's just a bunch of assumptions. Like we were doing a showcase with an artist called Ryan Cooper.
Yeah.
And he actually lives here in Miami, but he's from Mississippi. And he did a song about, like he was saying, I was in an Uber with a Venezuelan driver, and he was basically asked me, where are you from? I was like, I'm from Mississippi. Oh, must be super cold there. I was like, no, Mississippi's just as hot and humid, just like Miami. There's a lot of similarities. He wrote a song about just how similar Mississippi is to Miami.
That's cool.
And so like, but I'm just trying to say is that people have these assumptions about things.
Assumptions about things, right?
And
we even make assumptions about the right song that should go in an ad, you know, because you're like, okay, there's people exercising, you know, like it has to be EDM.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of times is go with what feels right and just be bold enough to do it. And
Absolutely.
Without overthinking things. So yeah, I mean, before we wrap things up, I mean, is there, you know, any music that you're listening to right now that you're sort of liking, just whatever's on your playlist right now or things you're vibing to?
A couple of funny things, you know, when I write comedy, I don't know why I always listen to a playlist on YouTube that's called Piano Music for Funerals. It's like the saddest music in the world. And for me, it just puts me on a good mood. I don't know. That's a little bit dark. I also, when I'm writing funny stuff, I also listen to a lot of like awkward elevator music.
Okay.
So when I'm not writing, I grew up listening to a lot of like 90s Southern California punk. I still listen to a lot of like punk music from the 90s.
Yeah, because of someone from Panama only would listen to salsa music, right?
Yeah,
not 90s punk.
My friends were like bum 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 bum. You know, I was watching skateboarding videos and just, you know, like listening to like NoFX and Bad Religion and like things like that. But I still listen to a lot of that. I guess like new things. No, I always listen to the same music. I listen to a lot of like 90s punk and a lot of also like singer-songwriter type of like stuff, more like Sufjan Stevens and things like that.
Oh,
and,
nice.
And well, also a lot of like 60s music because of my dad. That's what my dad was the first person who ever showed me music. So, you know, like everything that I know about music or creativity, I guess, comes from that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, what would we be without music? So, but Frank, thanks so much for
thank you
coming
for having
here
me.
and have this chat. This was great time. You know, looking forward to seeing all the good work that's coming.
Thank you.
Your way. Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thank you. I was gonna try to use the word whimsical, but I don't know what to say.
No more whimsical.
No more whimsical.